So this is one of my favorite classes to teach. Um, I don't know why, just is. But what we're gonna do is just kind of talk about how to set your objects up to be able to grab something and pick it, not have it in your hand, put it in your hand, pick it up, and then toss it. A little warm voice to it. All right. So what we want to do is take a look at this. Okay. So when we are we've physically parented things before where we change the hierarchy of that object, right? And it becomes a physical child of that object. Um, when we constrain something, it gets attached and locked to the thing that we're constraining it to. When we physically parent it, so just as an example here, get rid of my annotate. If I go in here and like create cube, it's my cube, and I'll create polygon, torus. There we go. Okay, so if this torus is, we'll say this is my parent, rename it. And we'll rename the cube child. All right, so if I have this parent, if I physically parent this, what I'm saying is that I'm going to select the child first, then the parent, and then press P. And when I do that, this thing physically will physically change the hierarchy of what's happening here, right? So this is a child of that parent. And what that means is that over in here, if I select the cube, I have nothing else affecting it. I have no colors in here. There's no red for keys. There's no blue for constraints. This is free to move around in that space. So I can take this and I can move it around just like that. I can rotate it. I can scale it, and everything is going to follow what the parent does. Now, if I take the child, I can set some keys on this. So let's just take the parent. I'm going to set a key on this. I'm going to go to 5, and we'll set another key, something like that. Yeah, something like that. So we have this change happening in here. And then with the box, let me just pull this little thing out here. Object. Yeah, that space. With this box, I can now that I have keys on that on this parent, I can also set keys on the child here. So I could set a key here, and then by about 5, we can say that maybe it's gonna be, I don't know, above this, and it'll be scaled, right? And I can set keys on that, and that's gonna actually do something, right? I can move this around. This is free to move around. Okay. Anybody not understand what I'm talking about here? Okay, we're all good? Okay. So now if I go back to constraining, and I look at constraining this thing, delete, okay, no keys on that, no keys on this. Now what I want to do is I'm just going to Shift P, we'll unparent this, and we're going to do a constraint. So when we're constraining, what do we select first? Kid in a glass shop. We're going to select the child first? No. Parent. We only have two things. So if it's not the child, it's the parent. The parent, think of that child running, that kid running around in the glass shop. The parent is going to want to constrain the child from wrecking all the glass. Okay. So we're going to select the parent first, shift select the child. We're going to go to constrain and then parent, and I'm just going to go into my options, and my options aren't there because they're probably on another screen, and I'm not going to worry about that right now. So we'll just do constrain, parent, hopefully it's set. Good. Okay. So when I constrain this and I select the child, now you can see that there are little blue marks here. That those light baby blue marks are showing me that something is constraining this object in some way, right? It's constraining the rotate, it's constraining the translate. It's not constraining the scale. That's one of the big differences with constraints too, is that if you want to constrain the scale, I would have to select the parent, child, hold my spacebar, and then do add a scale on there if I wanted to scale it. But now in the constraint, in the hierarchy, we have the parent and the child. They're on the same level. Nothing has been physically changed in there. The only thing that's been changed is that we've added these two nodes to the child saying, okay, listen to what the parent's telling you. But what happens is if I go to my parent, I say, okay, I'm going to set a key here. I'm going to go to 5 and I'll rotate this thing up and I'll move it out. And that's kind of what we had before, right? That little movement, that's working. So far, the child relationship is working. But if I take my object here, my child, and I set a key on it, hopefully you noticed. Now we have that new attribute on here, this blend parent. That blend parent that gets formed here, I'll undo it. If I undo, it's gone. If I redo it, whoop, back, lost the thread here. If I redo that and set a key on it, hit S, you can see that that blend parent shows up there. Okay. The other thing you'll notice is now we have like green in here. And that green is telling me that it's constrained, but it also has a key on it. So you know. Okay, so this blend parent is basically telling me whether the thing is attached or not attached. So right now it's saying it's 0. That means it's currently not attached. So if I select my parent, you can see this thing's not going to affect it. If I undo that, go back to my child, I turn this back on. I say, okay, now that blend parent be back on. Now if I move this around, it's going to follow it. Okay. Do you see how that's going? Okay, so this relationship can be turned on and off. The physical parenting relationship can't be turned on and off. It can, I mean, you could affect it so it looks like it's off, but essentially where that parent goes, that's where the child is going to go and it's going to be affected by it. In a constraint, you can turn that on and off with this with that blend parent. This option is always going to be on the thing that is being constrained. And that's always going to be like the child. Okay. Anything that has these the constraint nodes on it, that's where you will find this blend parent option. Questions? Good. Now, the next thing to know about this is that so we've made this change here, but maybe what I want to do is I set a key on this cube, and then maybe out here I want to scale this thing up at this point, and I want to rotate it and maybe move it up here, something. something like that. I set another key on it. I'm like, okay, that's what's going to happen. And then I go to animate and I put my timeline there. And what happens? Goes back to exactly the way that I positioned this thing. Okay. It snaps back right to the place that I attach this. So what I'm showing you here is that if I have my wrist control, if I have my object that I'm going to be attaching and I directly attach it to that thing, then if I set some animation keys and I want to do like something like this in my hand, I can't do that because every time I slide my timeline, it's going to go whoop, and then snap right back to the way that I had it originally. Okay. So what we have to do is we have to build in some hierarchy in there. We need this is where I was going to annotate. We need to set up a hierarchy. Like a, we need to set up something here so that um, if we have our parent, right, and then we have the child in here, and we want to attach these things. What we'll have to do is take the child and kind of nest it into a group. Well, there's a couple different ways to do it, but just the simplest kind of thing that we have to think about is that we have to nest or group the way that we're going to connect these two together. So if I have this child in a group of something, and it doesn't need to be encompassing it, it doesn't need to be surrounding it. It could be a locator that's out here, but as long as it has the physical parent-child relationship here, this would be like let's see, I'll call this I'll just call this G for group, if I could spell. There we go. I'll just call this G. So then in this format, we would have something that looks like G is going to be the parent, and then the C is going to be the physical child, like that. Does that make sense? That's what I'm showing here. It's a child of this group. Right? This is my group, and we have the child. Then we'll have then we'll have P over here, and it's going to just constrain this group. And we'll say, let's see, we'll just say C-O-N for constraint. So this is a constraint to this group. Now, because this is a physical child, this is a physical child inside this group. Since the group is taking this locked on kind of still attached thing, everything that's inside of it or a child of it is still able to move around because it has that it doesn't have any constraints to it. Confused yet? Not yet? Okay. All right, so what I'm going to do, looks like there's a question. Oh, good morning. Oh. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to kill all of this. You guys got those little drawings there? Good on that? Okay. Clear all drawings. And we'll also kill this thing. Die. All right. So what I have is I have a similar kind of setup here. I have my ball, which is going to be the child. I have something to group that thing with. That's my ball parent. I have a wrist control. So when we have our control, we're just going to attach the the parent to that control. And then we have our arm. And then we have the arm over here. So for this to work, I want to have my control. In this example, I'm just going to have this control be a child of the arm. So I'm going to make a physical parent, physical parenting, changing that hierarchy, what do I need to select first? Child first, right? So I'm going to select the child, shift select the parent, press P, and I have that relationship set up. Okay. So same thing here. I'm going to select the child first, shift select the parent, press P, and we'll open that up. And so the ball is a child of this parent here. Okay, now this parent I can move around, right? And you can see nothing is constrained yet in the ball. You can see also nothing is constrained here. So at this point, if I were to set some keys, so here and go to frame, I don't know, 7, and I can rotate this ball around, which you can see now is not a ball. That as I move this thing around, I still have the ability to move this around. So I can move that around there, and this thing is still going to animate. Okay, so I could turn it around right now in my hand. All right, let's kill that animation here. And do break connections. Boom. Okay, so I'm going to take this thing, and my arm is going to grab this ball. Okay, so I'm just going to put the ball where I'm going to, come in and grab it. And I'm going to set this little thing up so that it is down over here. So I'm going to key this arm. I'm going to go to frame, we'll say frame 10. I'm going to come up and I'm going to grab this thing. Okay, so far that's working out pretty well. Right, and then now what I want to do is I want to constrain that ball to the hand. So I have my, and actually I'm going to have this control. I'm going to have that constrained, but instead of the ball, constraining the ball directly, I'm going to constrain this group. So if this group is the child and I'm constraining it, what do I need to select first? I need to select the parent first, which is going to be this object or whatever I'm constraining it to. And then I'm going to shift select the child. I'm going to go to my spacebar, go to constrain, go to parent, boom. Okay, so this thing is constrained. I can see it's on there. If I rotate my arm, it's on there. But what did we want to have happen in the first place here? We wanted the ball to stay up here, right? I want to come up and grab the ball, not have it attached in my hand, right? So what I need to do is I need to get that blend parent thing back. And how did I get that blend parent thing? I keyed it, right? And the thing that you're keying is what? The thing with the constraint on it, whatever that is, right? So if I look over here, you're right with the group, but more importantly, not just the group, but I want you to think that whatever has that constraint on it is going to be the thing that's going to give me that blend parent, okay? Because you might be constraining a whole bunch of different things and, but you have to find the constraint, go to the top node or top object of that, then key that object, boom. That's going to give me my blend parent. And you can see it's already set to off. Come on. There we go. That blend parent is set to off. So if I go and do this, now we have our ball back to being where it's going. Now what I want to do is at frame 10, it's not on. At frame 11, I want it to be attached. So frame 11, I'm going to set a key. Let's see, frame 10. Yeah, it's keyed there. Frame 11, I'm going to set this blend parent, set that to 1. So now I've keyed this thing on. Doesn't look like there's much difference. But whenever I'm constraining something, I always do it in a 1 frame switch. And I'll show you why later. But usually it's just a 1 frame switch. Now what I want to do is I want to bring my arm back. So we'll go another like frame 20. We'll take that arm and we'll toss it on back here like that. So we're coming up. It's not grabbed. Now it's grabbed. So boop. Pretty cool. Now it's grabbed. Now what we want to do is we want to send this thing sailing. So once we get to here, we'll go another, I don't know, couple frames, and we'll toss it this way, right? Something like that. I'll just move this down a little bit more. Okay. So now we have it going and my arm is tossing here. Now what I want is at some point in this toss, I want to release that ball. So we'll say somewhere around frame 26, around frame 26, I'm going to say, okay, the ball is in my hand. So I'm going to key this as on. I want to make sure that that this thing is keyed on. So that blend parent is on. Now at frame 27, I want to have that blend parent off because we don't want it in the hand anymore, right? So if I turn that off, what happens? Yeah, right. Excellent work. So the ball is going back to the last place that it was keyed. Okay. And when we keyed it, it was around here. That's where we keyed it. When we shut that off, it's just going to snap to the last place it was keyed. Now, little fun fact here is that if I wanted it to like stay here, you can see that there's a little bit of difference between those two, not too much, but enough difference that if I wanted to keep this thing in that spot, all I have to do is just key this whole thing. I just say, okay, I'm gonna key it here. So now this is the last place it was keyed in space. Now when I shut that constraint off, it's gonna stay in that space. Okay, so just remember that when you shut a constraint off, the last place it was keyed is where it's gonna go to. And so if you see it flying off, then you just haven't keyed it. So before you let it go or release it, set a key on all of your stuff, then shut the blend parent off and it will stay in that spot. And the reason why I say that is because what we want now is to take this object and we want it to kind of go off into space here. So as I'm looking at this going here, take that and then we'll key it there. And then we'll have it kind of taken off somewhere around in here. Maybe somewhere around here, give it a little bit of an arc. Okay. So the other thing that we'll also want to do is look at the trajectory of this ball. So if I go to visualize, go to editable motion trails. So see how my ball is currently like arcing up really nicely here, and then all of a sudden it starts to fly up and then go straight. I would want to take those curves and kind of give them a little bit of a massage here so that they make more of an effort of looking like they're getting released. Yeah.
When you right click the cloak with the string, the menu everything.
Oh, this, yep. Oh, end constraints, those are for like dynamics. So like if you have um like a like cloth or something, right? You can kind of pin points of that cloth to objects. So, or if you have something that's like a soft body dynamic and a hard body dynamic, you can constrain that to different things. Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah.
So somewhat similar to like when Maintaining the block on.
Similar, yes. Right. Yes, but this is more specific to saying, okay, yeah, vertices attached to this thing. Yeah, but yes. Um, so now my ball is going. Good question. Um, and that in a nutshell is how we're going to constrain the thing. So the reason why we are um the reason why we are putting this in here is that so like you have a catcher and if they grab that ball and they have it in their hand here, they might want to have that ball twisting in their hand as they're getting ready to throw it, right? You don't want to have that ball be attached to the object that you're going to be throwing, that it's going to be locked. You try to animate it, it's going to snap back every time. So we have to nest it into something so that I always think of it as that that parent is taking the brunt of it, just like parents do, right? They take all the crap and then you get to do whatever you want to do. It's same kind of relationship. Um, so that is why that's why we're attaching it. So if I wanted to down here, I could take this thing and I could still, as it's moving down, I could have it kind of flip around here in the hand and do its thing and then come out and still, you know, toss around as it's leaving. Okay. Um, now, why is it called a blend parent, you ask? I'm glad you asked that. Well, the reason why it's called a blend parent is that if I select, where am I going to find that blend parent? Okay. So that is, where am I going to find it in this outliner? Where is that? On ball parent, because I'm looking for the thing that has the constraint node on it. That ball parent is where I'm going to find my blend parent. So right now it's off. What I could do, if I really wanted to, is I could set this as a blend on and off. So right now we have it off here, right? We have it still off here, 0 and 0. But if I set this to 1, turn that on, then what happens is that ball will start drifting towards my hand. Or if I wanted to, I could take this and start blending this on and off. So who could see the potential problem with using like more than a one frame switch on this? Kind of showing you right now by going back and forth. Where's that problem? What's that? You're going to see it magnetized. Yep. But more importantly, what's it doing? How is it moving? It's not making an arc, right? It's going from A to B. So if I wanted it to arc somewhere in here, I would then have to make sure to set a key on this thing to go out here and then, then set my blend parent and, you know, I kind of screwed it up by actually keying it there, but I would need to create that arc in here. And so what you are doing is by doing a blend parent over more than one frame is that you're going to have to fight or add some more keys in there to get this thing to blend correctly. Okay. So for me, the way that I do it is I just have it, if it's off, then it's completely off until I'm touching the thing. I'll touch it, turn it on, it's locked into my hand, and then I can take it and let it go. Even when I'm throwing it, it's off, it's on in my hand, and then that one frame switch, I just move or I shut it off, move the ball out to whatever that logical frame would be, that next logical frame out, and then toss the ball. Make sense? Any questions on any of that? You guys all got that? Okay, all right. Well, we'll see, because we're gonna be doing this in the lab this week. Yeah. So well, if there's no questions, that's all I got for you. So constraints, fun times. Also, with constraints, they are an animator's friend, at least the 3D animator's friend, probably 2D if you're doing like Toon Boom uh puppeting. But for a 3D animator, being able to constrain things, if you have a character riding in a car, you don't want to have to try and match the car up with the character or the character up with the car. You want to constrain their controls, their butt to the chair, and have that car just kind of drive them where they want to go. Okay. All right. That's all I got. We'll see you all on Friday. Yeah, thank you. Bye. Maybe. Uh, thank you. See ya. Nope, just us. Wow. Also, don't forget to sign up for to meet with me. I sent out an email